Welcome to Smart to Fish Wild, a podcast where a passion for the outdoors meets the strategy of building a well-intentioned, meaningful life. I'm Mark Candler, fourth generation Colorado native, big outdoors person, passionate about fly fishing, and enjoy what we do in helping nonprofits raise money as a wealth manager. Each week, I have the opportunity to sit down with some incredible people that have turned their passion into purpose and creating real meaning in their lives and in the lives of people all around them. Today, I'm blessed to be joined by Barbara Luneau, president of board of directors at Colorado Trout Unlimited. Colorado Trout Unlimited is an unbelievable nonprofit that preserves our environment and preserves our cold water fisheries. And I've been blessed to be involved with them for several years. Sit back and enjoy the conversation. And I hope you get some meaningful content. And thanks for watching the Smart to Fish Wild podcast. So, Barbara, just I guess taking it back to the beginning, I just kind of wanted to ask you, what is your story about how you got connected to conservation and environmental causes and fly fishing, and how the currents and winds have led you to be the head of the board of directors of Colorado Trout Unlimited?
Well, thank you, Mark. It has been currents and winds for sure. I grew up in Vermont, and when I moved to Colorado in the 80s as part of a career move. I'm a geologist, and I worked in the oil and gas industry. And when I moved here from Texas. I had this picture in my mind that fly fishing was this iconic Western experience, and I wanted to learn it. I always been an outdoor person. I grew up on a dairy farm, spent a lot of time outdoors, and just always had a love for the outdoors. And when I first moved here, I was working with a group of people that were also immersing themselves into fly fishing and got introduced to fly fishing and fly tying then. And then the currents of life kind of pushed me in raising a family, kind of away from that. But in the early 2000s, when my daughter was in high school, it occurred to me I kind of need a social life. And my daughter was getting ready to go to college, and everything I did was tied up with either work or her activities. And so I reflected on, what did I do before I was a mother? What did I do to occupy myself? And I thought, when I first moved to Colorado, I was really interested in fly fishing. I'm gonna explore that again. And that's when the door really opened for me. And I went to my local fly shop in Longmont, Colorado, took like an introductory class and a day of guiding, got involved in their fly tying club, and one thing just kind of led to another. People there said, "Well, you should get involved with Trout Unlimited. It's a way to meet people that fly fish." And that was in 2007. And, well, I was much younger then and a woman, so I was pretty unusual, but I was really welcomed. And I started going to TU events, and when you show up to a few events, people start talking to you, and I was asked to join my local chapter's leadership team. And so since 2007, I've been involved in TU leadership in almost every capacity, from chapter secretary to chapter president twice. And in about 2000, I don't know, maybe 50, I got involved with the state council board, and particularly in the areas of youth education and developing young leaders. In 2017, I became the director of our teen youth camp, and that's where, like, my passion just really took off. for sharing the sport, sharing the conservation message, and supporting teenagers make that transition from all of the uncertainty and things they're seeking as teenagers to defining their life path. So I've been president of the board of directors for nearly 2 years, and it's a 2-year term. I'll be completing my term coming up here the end of April. And I guess I just briefly kind of say, like, going to that level of leadership, I have to really point to other people that inspired me. Having mentors that step forward to do the things that needed to be done, and bringing their skills to the table to, make a transition from one stage of development to the next. And so I have a lot of organizational skills, a lot of skills around bringing people together, and it's been a real learning experience and a lot of value in working to expand the capacities and expand the knowledge in our communities about the work of Trout Unlimited.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. So do you see Trout Unlimited as an organization you're gonna be involved with into eternity?
That's a really good question. This is my 19th year of engagement with TU, and which kind of blows me away. I went into it seeking community, and certainly I found community, and have been really involved in building community too. And so I think that I'll continue to be engaged with TU in various capacities. I really want to focus the next several years around developing young leaders and being a mentor, supporting young leaders, and not just engaging young people in the sport of fly fishing, but really engaging them in the need that our community has for conservation leaders.
Interesting. So how do you make conservation relevant to the younger generations?
Well, I think that it is more relevant than us older people give them credit for. And I say that because a lot of based on my experience with our teen youth camp. And every year we're recruiting 24 campers, and then we have a leadership development program. So we have almost 30 young people that are coming to this camp. And I see year after year that they leave deeply engaged. Many of them arrive already engaged in conservation from the sense of they have a lot of anxiety, like climate anxiety. All of the and environment, like I think I think the official term is eco anxiety. And they feel a tremendous amount of pressure around the state of our environment and the state of what's happening to the earth system. And they want to know, they want to experience how can they engage and make it meaningful to them in their sphere of influence? And so I think that by creating a welcoming community where young people can meet other young people that have the same interests, then we're creating a snowball effect by doing that. And the beauty of, like, the whole fly fishing, angling experience is it really grounds you and connects you to the local environment. And so it's a literal hook for young people that haven't yet made that transition, but it opens their eyes to how the connection of the environment to our water resources, to a healthy fishery, and all of the things that start bringing us our respite when we go outdoors too. And they start learning really fast how that's all connected. When we take when we disconnect, this is what I love about going fishing in our the West, is we're off the grid. We go places where your cell phone doesn't work, and that's one of the experiences that we do in our camp also, is these young people are off the grid, and they are very exhilarated. They're calmed. See a lot of kids, we talk about what they're experiencing, and we talk about what it means to be connected to nature. That a lot of them tell me, "I don't often feel calm. I feel so much more calm this week." And that's a big deal, and they take that away, and they take that community away with them too.
Wonderful. Very well articulated. So, how do you bridge the gap between youth engagement and lifelong stewardship?
That's where I think mentors are really, really important. So a program, and TU has a series of programs at different levels to introduce young people, engage them, light the fire, but you gotta keep the flame lit, right? And so that's the piece that we're still working and developing, but a lot of it involves leaders like me then engaging young people in the next step, inviting them to our events, finding opportunities for them to continue to contribute. And so what we see then is that continued engagement showing up, and young people love helping other young people. And so that's been a real door opener, I feel like, for connecting them to that continued stewardship. And they come back to our camp as youth counselors and then counselors. They show up at other events that are introducing young people to fly fishing in the outdoors and to conservation to support and guide those young people. And then they start showing up to volunteer to lead something, volunteer to become on boards. And so a big part of it, I feel, is communicating to young people that your voice is important and we want to hear your voice. And then it's incumbent on leaders like myself to make the opportunity for them to be heard.
That's awesome. So, what does the leadership look like within the TU community now, and how are you getting the young people to help kind of shape the future of what you're doing?
Right. Well, that's happening, I think, at different levels. And the leadership in TU is becoming more age diverse and more gender diverse, which is something that it's been needing. It's an organization dominated by 60-plus-year-old men, white men, but it's now evolving. And as younger people are being made to feel welcome, and supported, that's changing. And so it's not uniform by any scope of the imagination, but what we're seeing is a lot more young professionals in their late 20s and 30s that have concerns about our environment, have an ethic of giving back and showing up and saying, "Hey, I want to help." And so once they come in into a leadership team, they might be just supporting, they might start by supporting an event, or like my chapter has hike and fish, and where in the summertime they're fish alongs in high altitude lakes. And we've had a lot of number of young leaders come in and they bring their friends, and we want to organize this program. Well, that's sort of a first step. And from that, then um as we need help with various other leadership roles, they're stepping up and saying, "Well, I can do that." I can be the chapter recorder, I can be, the vice president, and we're starting to see more and more leadership, at younger ages. And the cool thing about young people is they also travel with a posse. So they bring more young
That's
people
awesome.
into, into the realm. And so what's key and incumbent upon leaders like myself, one is being a mentor, setting it up that they can give back to their community and still do their jobs, show up every day, make a living, and then, have people like myself, I'm retired, I can back them up. I can help make sure that gaps are filled. And so it really creates that kind of multi-generational mentoring environment. And so, and that's really what any kind of community organization, needs, because when you're working in with partner organizations, and partner organizations work like they work Monday through Friday. And so if we're volunteering on something with our county parks and open space or volunteering with CPW, that's going to be a weekday. And so we need people that can break away on weekdays. But other things we're doing might be an evening or a weekend. And so we can kind of work around and maximize on people's availabilities and schedules and all the things that they're trying to balance to achieve meaning in their life.
That is so awesome. I'm not quite sure how to articulate this, but I'm 58 and I personally reflect that it seems like the 80s and the 90s and were a much more peaceful, calm society. And I'm not going to go one way or the other or touch that with an 80-foot stick, but would I mean, would you agree that if the way things are now and the way things are heading, I mean, people have just got to be excited about something that is so peaceful and so disconnected and so natural and so meaningful. I mean, are you feeling that like within Trout Unlimited? You guys are attracting more people, more interest?
Yes, yes, definitely. I think so. A lot of people come to the outdoors and they're seeking that restfulness, that restorativeness from the outdoors. And so fly fishing is something that definitely feeds that itch, right? And so there's people that come to it that way. There are also, it's not just the angling community, but there's people that are attracted to the conservation message first and maybe come to angling, but maybe not. They may just stay with that conservation message because that's what resonates most with them. And that Trout Unlimited is a organization. As an organization, we do so many different things, but there's like they fall into 3 major categories, and the first thing that the organization does is advocate for the environmental change that we wanna see. And so there are people that are attracted to that advocacy piece and speaking up for particularly their local and statewide issues. And then the organization then does the restoration work. The organization has, in Colorado, we have a staff, the national organization's restoration team for Colorado is about 15 people, professional project managers and engineers and biologists, people working on that. And then the third piece of what TU does, which I've been, referring to, is we educate and we invest in the developing the stewardship of the future with our education programs. And so we kinda it's sort of like we're kinda like, um, I don't know, we're doing the advocacy to create the restoration that we wanna see, and then we're kinda paying it forward with the efforts to make the mission sustainable.
Very, very interesting. So, Barbara, what are some of the programs that contribute to your stewardship effort?
So we have a number of programs that are in place right now. The one I referred to previously is our youth camp, and that's an annual program, a week away from home, a week with your peers, learning about conservation, water conservation in Colorado, and fly fishing skills. That's one program that is attracting a lot of teenagers. A new program that's attracting teenagers is high school fly fishing clubs, and that's really expanding a lot this past year in Colorado, and, like, we have teens coming back from camp, starting clubs in their high school. One of the chapter in Pueblo, the Southern Colorado Greenbacks, the council funded a grant request from them last year to put on a high school fly fishing tournament. The outcome of that fly fishing tournament is about, I think, 7 or 8 new fly fishing clubs cropping up in high schools throughout Colorado, which is really, really exciting because they're then connecting with the local Trout Unlimited chapters. Our chapters are supporting them with skills, and then they're looking for opportunities to give back and do stewardship. And so show up as volunteers at plantings and trash cleanups, river cleanups, and education events, all types of things. But we're also piloting a program in the San Luis Valley, a watershed ambassadors program that's run through the schools. And it's a certification program that prepares young people to build leadership skills around water conservation literacy, and kind of looking forward to seeing like how that evolves and how we might springboard that into other schools throughout the state. And then once they move out of the high schools, TU has a nationwide college and universities program that's sponsored by Costa, and it's called the Costa Five Rivers. And so we have a number of our college programs: CU, CSU, Greeley, Gunnison. I think there's a couple more, but young leaders basically leading college clubs in fly fishing, and they also collaborate in the local sense of for the conservation connection and doing stewardship in the community of their peers, basically. And then the final thing is, our national organization has funding to do a what's called an expeditions program. So, I think there's, like, 25 states that do camps like we do in Colorado, and those camps include learning about conservation, as I mentioned, and fly fishing skills, but they also always usually include a stewardship project, giving back, doing some type of work on the ground. That really lights a fire in everybody. The expeditions program is built around doing stewardship in conjunction with an ongoing restoration project that the professional staff is working on. And so they have a number of sites where both high school and college age students come together across the country and collaborate. So basically creating opportunities for young people to connect to real conservation projects.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So those are kind of the major things that the organization has going on. And what like I kind of alluded to earlier too, is here in Colorado, our next steps from the leadership perspective is knitting together all of these pieces and creating the connections for these communities to connect with each other and continue supporting each other and to grow and impact our communities.
That's fantastic. Barbara, what's your favorite local fishery?
My husband and I fish all over the place, but I have to say, by local, I'll go with Colorado,
Okay.
but I love to fish the frying pan. That's one of my favorite rivers to fish in
Me
Colorado.
too.
Go for that dry fly
Me
hatch.
too. What's one of your favorite recent fish stories?
I think the recent fish story I like the best is we went to Christmas Island back in September and fished the flats there and offshore a little bit also. And that was a big, I guess, progress. I felt like it was where my skills kind of came together. And I had gone to Christmas Island, oh, about 12 years ago, and it was my first wading on the flats trip, and I felt like I struggled, and it was hard to see the fish. I didn't know what I was looking for, and I was just so dependent on the guides, and I wanted to go this time and be able to walk the flat alone and see the fish and target the fish, and I got there, and it's an astounding feeling to be standing in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and only see water, blue water, and bonefish around you. It's
That
amazing.
is
And that's one of my favorite recent memories of, achieving that special feeling when you're out there in the wilderness.
that is awesome. That is on my bucket list for sure. Christmas Island.
Yeah, it's worth it. It's worth all the travel risk to get there and
That would
back.
be the trip of a lifetime. Well, good.
It's great.
Well, good. That is
Yeah.
incredible. I hope you're enjoying this, and I hope you see some real value
Yeah,
coming out of this.
I hope
Yeah,
so
and
too. Yeah, and,
uh, I would
no,
love
it's
just
good.
to brainstorm, if you're okay with it, as to ways that Boonfly, our fly fishing social club, that is we've proven proof of concept, and we're at 42 members, and I think we're gonna cap it at 70 or 80. But yeah, but ways
Mhm.
that we could get, involved with Trout Unlimited. I think I informed you a couple of years ago or a year and a half ago, we had Sarah Porterfield come to the
Yes.
Anglers All Boathouse and give a presentation
Yep.
on everything you've done on the Colorado River, and that was everybody loved it. Everybody thought it was just sensational.
Yeah. She is the expert.
So maybe yeah, so I just wanted to plant a seed that, if you wouldn't mind, just think about our group and, some presentations or educational events that would be benefit Colorado Trout Unlimited and also highly educate our audience and, have it be a fun evening, educational evening, something that people would really enjoy. And if it's Sarah again, that would be fine. Or just, other things that you've seen Trout Unlimited presenting that would have an impact on our group, that would be awesome.
Huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
and we're also, I think you're aware, we've been a sponsor of Carp Slam for the last couple years. We're gonna
Yeah,
sponsor it again this year. I think we're gonna have a team competing. So we're gonna be
cool. I've
raising
been wanting
money.
to do that myself.
And I think we're also gonna do, jump in on a river cleanup and really be a part of that. So yeah, I wanted to ask, and I don't even know if this, well, we're thinking about sponsoring a $2,500 table for your big March gala
Mhm.
event. I've got to talk to the other.
We'd be extremely appreciative
Yeah,
of
and I think it
that.
would give, I think it'd give some great recognition and logo of Boonfly and, increasingly make people aware of
Right.
Boonfly.
Well, and
Once again, we wanna grow
we
slowly and organically with really good people. Right now, we
mhm,
don't seem to be attracting women because Colorado Women's Fly Fishers is such a great organization. So, by no means do we not want women, we're just not attracting women.
right. And that's a somewhat of a dilemma, right? Because they're same thing with young people. Like, they wanna hang out with
Right.
young people, right? Um, and so there's kind of these I see it as, like, the Venn diagrams where, like, circles of connection, and the thing with women in particular too is women wanna feel safe, and that's a really significant barrier because women don't always feel safe in a predominantly male environment, and that's it's a definite barrier, and I sense it really strongly because I do a number of women's clinics and fish-alongs, and people say this to me continually, and I come from a very I worked in a male-dominated career. I jumped into TU when other women weren't jumping into TU, and it's not like something like I've always been around really awesome supportive male counterparts, but not all women feel that way. And I think that's a challenge that your organization has to overcome in order to attract
Yeah.
women.
And I've heard some people say, and clearly I hope I'm not saying the wrong thing. I grew up with a very powerful mother, and I have a very powerful older sister. But, I've actually had women say to me, like, why don't you just keep it men? There's nothing wrong with that. You know, guys need to be with guys and guys they have common interests with. It's totally healthy if it's an all men's club,
Right,
because they've got CWF, numerous other
right,
women's groups. So it's like,
right.
I'm not sure if we should try to fight,
Yeah,
just like,
right,
hey,
right.
let's be a bunch of great gentlemen that are conservationists and want to give back. And do you know Joselle with Denver Trout
Right,
Unlimited?
right. Yes,
Okay.
I know Joe.
Yeah, we just made a bunch of business
Yeah.
cards for the fly fishing show. And everything that
Nice.
Joe comes up with, it's a go. If it's a Joe, it's a go. That's our saying.
He's, really
Really
cool guy.
cool guy. Yeah. And I've been
Really, really cool guy. I have a ton of
I've
respect
been
for Joe.
chairman of the board for the last couple years, but I've took Joe out for lunch several times and I'm like, "We would love you to be the chairman of the board." And he's like, "No, I've said this before. I've said no, and it's still no." And I'm like, "Joe, can I ask you to help guide me and John and Tom with an hour or 2 a month?" "Sure, I'll do that all day long." So we all laugh and we go, "He's the real chairman of the board."
That's funny.
But
That's pretty
we're trying to
funny.
come up with a slogan, and of course, Joe did it all on its own, but his Spoonfly is simply fish together, learn together, give back.
I love that. I think that's really awesome, and yeah, it is, and there is nothing wrong with or I'll just call it affinity groups, right? There's nothing wrong with affinity groups, and then we can seek opportunities to collaborate and co-create.
Right. So I would love to
And
yeah, certainly I would love to keep the conversation going and potentially, let me just plant a couple seeds that, our website um, is progressing and we're getting better. And we have a distribution list of about almost 300 people now, 42 members, but a contact list of 300, which will continually
yeah,
grow. But I just wanted to see, what could we post on our website that are activities of Colorado Trout Unlimited that would very simply just benefit you? Like, an example would be the March Gala event. I mean, I would think
gala event,
Cheyenne would be like, "Oh my
absolutely.
god, if you can get out this message to all 300 contacts."
Yes. Cheyenne would be very much so,
Yeah,
very much so. Particularly since your mission is to give
right.
back, and that's what the gala is all about. The bottom line for us is to raise unrestricted funds at the gala, and a big part of that goes towards then funding our staff. And so the council staff, Colorado Trout Unlimited is the council of 22 chapters, and we have 22 independent groups out there doing work in their home waters. And having David Nickum and that staff, it just adds horsepower to what Trout Unlimited can do collectively statewide. And so that's gala is a pretty important part of our annual fundraising. And that covers a lot of things related to our advocacy work and making sure we have a unified voice in state of Colorado, across all of our 22 chapters, and that we're advocating for the watershed protections, and then it also a lot of it goes into our education programs, and and getting all of these youth programs that we have into schools and into communities across the state too. So it's pretty important part of our fundraising component.
Yeah, is it Natalie that runs your youth programs?
Yeah, Natalie's our
And her
education
last name
director,
is?
basically. Flowers.
Okay. Well, do you think that she would be in favor of our promoting some of your youth events on our website? Just get the
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Our camp for sure, I would say.
Okay, very cool. Would it be okay?
Yeah, because our camp, we're recruiting campers right now, and the deadline is March 1st for our camp applications. That would be something, we're working hard to get the word out on
Okay,
that.
well, yeah,
And
we would love to partner and help with that. But
yeah,
do you think it'd be okay if I
excellent.
reached out to Natalie and tried to just schedule a Zoom conversation with her?
Sure, absolutely. I can follow up with a email. I'll just do like hey, I want to connect you to, and Mark can offer some help in promoting camp and potentially other programs too. So, and then she'll follow up with you, I'm
That would be
sure.
so just kinda do a mutual email?
Yeah, I'm
That'd
doing
be
mutual
awesome.
email.
I really appreciate that.
You need to know each
Yeah,
other.
and
That's my role, connect
I
people.
committed to just an hour, and I respect your time, so we have about 5 more minutes. But I
Yeah,
would, with your permission, I would love to just send you an email, because I really, really would love to, over time have an impact in terms of helping Trout Unlimited raise more money through
yes,
intelligent, comprehensive philanthropic planning. And I'm never going to give you a snake oil sales pitch or anything close to that. But what I can send you is just kind of like our thoughts on people giving money to great organizations like TU and CTU. They
right, yeah.
first and foremost need to make sure that they're okay and their family's okay and they're secure. And if
Right,
changes
yeah,
occur, they're still secure and they're okay because they've got extra money. So, kind of our thoughts on that. And then my partner Dave
yeah,
put together just like a 13-minute video on what is philanthropic financial planning. So, if you would ever ingratiate us with 13 minutes of your time to watch that, I would be honored because it's
okay.
real and it makes sense. And
Yeah, send me a link.
we
I'll look at
can
it.
do good and get people to give more money.
Well, and I think, that's so aligned with what Cheyenne is trying to
Yeah.
accomplish, and, move, uh, like, move more into major gifts and, like, there's been a history around, like, Century Club gifts, and then our River Stewardship Council is like a $1,200 gift, and but moving people, and particularly our demographic, um we have a high degree of retirees and people that are not gonna spend all the money that they have
Right.
saved. That's very aligned with what Cheyenne is trying to
Yeah, and I'm
accomplish.
gonna reach out to Cheyenne this afternoon and try to schedule
Yeah.
a Zoom call with her to talk about options
Good.
for supporting the gala event and how she would like us to present the gala event on our website and
Yeah.
get it out to all the members.
Yeah, I think she'd really be pleased with that. She should be really pleased with
Okay.
that. Yeah. And I really appreciate your organizational willingness to do
Yeah.
that too.
And hey, would you mind if I just sent
Yeah.
you quick email of just what is Moonfly? Just
Yeah,
so you're
absolutely. That'd be great.
aware.
That'd
And
be
it
great.
talks about the
Yeah.
three nonprofits that we're supporting, not just DTU, but
Mhm.
Disabled
Yeah.
Development Resource Center. We're gonna take,
Right, you
you
told
know,
me about
8 to 10 mentally disabled adults and take them fly fishing 5 or 6 times this year. We also support community fly fishing, Austin, Campbell, et cetera, and all the myriad of trips we do and
yeah.
social events and Pete Dorsey and Landon
Right.
Meyer and la, la, la,
Right.
la, la. I'll stop boring you with all that, but hey, thank you for your time. Hey, thank you for spending your time today with the Smart to Fish Wild podcast. I hope you really enjoyed it and got some great things out of it. Yeah, I thought today's conversation was just incredible about all the wonderful programs that Colorado Trout Unlimited is running, their intense involvement in trying to get youth as part of their leadership. And yeah, very, very special to me. I actually wrote an article to the Denver Post when I was 10 years old about why they should not build the Piney Reservoir above Vail. So I've been in this conservation game for a little while. I can never find that article. I wish I could.